Real relationships, real conversations. This is who we are. This is Couples Connect. Real relationships, real conversations. This is who we are. This is Couples Connect.
What's going on, everybody? This is Couples Connect. My name is Akita.
And I'm Tisha.
And today's topic, we're talking about not letting your finances ruin your marriage.
Absolutely. I'm making me a cup of tea for this particular episode.
I got my coffee.
Because we have definitely been on the finance journey.
Yeah.
Right? So one of the top reasons that couples have issues, that they are disconnected, that they are, on opposite sides of the track is finances, right?
Yeah.
What do you always say, romance
without finance is a nuisance.
Is a nuisance.
And that's true in a lot of different ways, because finances really can put a strain on your marriage, on your life, different parts of your life. And if you are not careful, it could separate your marriage. There's a lot of divorce that's caused through finances.
More than separate.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But so we wanted to just hop on here and just share some things that we've experienced financially.
Yeah.
Right. That could have sent us over.
Mm-hmm. We've been through our share of stuff.
We continue to go through our share of things.
To grow through it. But I mean, some of the most impactful things that we've been through in the past were situations where I lost my job.
Oh my gosh. Do you want to talk about that one?
Yeah, let's talk about that one. So I lost my job, and it couldn't come at the worst time, at a more worse time than it did, because we just, was that when we had our son?
So I was pregnant. I had just went on maternity leave with our last son.
Mm-hmm. And
so I wasn't working, waiting on that disability check.
And now I wasn't working. And it was such a whirlwind, because you never expect those types of things, especially when you get laid off. Sometimes you can have inclinations that something's about to happen, but this was completely off guard. And it wasn't just me, it was whole departments, multiple, were being laid off. And there were so many that even the news team came out to interview people as they're walking out the building.
I forgot about that.
Yes.
Wait, were you on there?
I wasn't on it. I didn't find out till later.
He was mad.
Yeah, I was in the back somewhere, trying to recollect my thoughts. But it was so out of the blue. We were so caught off guard, and that could have been something that could have really took us down into this rabbit hole of emotions and anger and frustration.
It was a lot. It was a lot. And I remember, so our son is born the beginning of December. So now we're close to Christmas. Yeah. We have 5 kids together, and we're trying to figure out how are we gonna do this? How are we gonna pay our rent? At the time we were renting. Mm-hmm. And I remember the landlord, so we call ourselves being responsible.
Yeah.
So we let the landlord know, hey, we're gonna be late this month because he just got laid off. I'm still waiting on my disability check, just had the baby. He's like, oh, and
Ruthless.
Proceeds to go, yes, and file for the day that the rent was late. Proceeded to go and file for an eviction.
Yeah.
And
Ruthless.
We're
yeah,
I said I was really gonna be late. I didn't say I wasn't gonna pay.
Mind you, we have been paying on time.
All the time.
All the time. We've never been late. We've never had an issue. This was a life-changing event that we could not have predicted or prepared for. And he was just cold-hearted with it. Just cold-hearted. And so shout out to the landlords out there who do their due diligence and who are human and who do understand. Yeah, people go through things, but that was such a trying time for us.
How are you feeling?
Well, I mean, I was feeling what I'm gonna do. You know what I mean? Just trying to it was already set in stone. I lost my job, so now it's recovery, right? What am I gonna do to recoup for this? How am I gonna find another job? How are we gonna pay for this, that, and the other? And it's a lot, especially for a man, a provider of the home, to go through. I think I now looking back on it, I can only think of like it was the Lord that like kept me, because it's not like it's not even like his grace was like covering us, because it's not even like I went to him and was just like, oh, what am I do? And, you know, all this like crying out. It was just like a calmness that was over me. You know what I mean?
I love to speak to that though, because I think that we typically don't have relationship issues when it comes to money. And I do think that it has a lot to do with your temperament.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like,
I'm a chill
on
guy.
the outside, I don't know what's going on the inside. But on the outside, he's very like calm and like, okay. And I'm like,
she's the one that's like
heck?
Like a squirrel. It's like,
what the hell are we doing? And I'm overthinking. I think a lot like about what's going to happen. I'm thinking about the next bills that's going to come and all these different things. But I do think that your temperament helps set the temperature and concerning money.
I mean, I agree. I believe that that it is the man's responsibility, you know, the husband's responsibility, I should say, to create the atmosphere, to, you know, set the tone, set the culture of the family. And that has played a lot, that like calm characteristic has played a part in a lot of different issues or struggles that we went through, where we could have both gone crazy. You know what I mean?
Because if he would have took it, I would have went with him.
Right. If I'd have been like, you know, like, we're going to be Bonnie and Clyde in this thing, you know, should have been like, let's go. You know what I mean?
So that makes me think about another time where we actually did get evicted from an apartment. Kind of funny, not funny situation where we were in the process of buying a house and all of our monies were tied up into this house. And then the house kind of like, it ended up falling through. But before it fell through, we didn't have the rent money because the rent money was tied into the down payment and all that stuff with the house. And we had already told the landlord that we were, you know, moving and all these different things. Again, another scenario where we were never late, like never. Never late. And
another
I think we were there
crazy
for like
landlord.
4 years. We were there for 4 years.
Yep.
And then she proceeded to go ahead and file. And in the town that we lived in, it only took about 7 days before I think it was like 7 or 8 days. Before we ended up getting a court date. And of course, we were having issues with this property closing. And so what ended up happening was the judge was like, you got to pay or you got to go.
Right. Yeah. And no grace or nothing. And like, she was another, she was tripping. Like she was a crazy lady anyway.
She was.
And very like, she was nosy always in our business.
She lived across the street.
Which was the worst. We should not have ever stayed there
she was so, what's the word when you're like not respectful of people's space?
Intrusive?
Yes.
Very intrusive.
She was so intrusive. But we ended up leaving. So we had like 15 days, I think. No, did we have 15? Yeah, it might have been like 10 days.
Yeah, 10 to 15.
10 or something like days to vacate. We ended up vacating. We ended up staying in a hotel.
Yeah.
Now, by this time, we were actually about to, we had found a location. We had found a house, but we weren't able to move into it for like a couple of weeks. So, so she ended up taking our deposit, which was more than enough. And then we stayed in a hotel for like 2 weeks. Yeah. Yeah. Card and the kids. We were technically homeless.
We were homeless. We didn't have a home, you know? We were staying in a hotel, all like bunked up together because there was only
in one room.
A 2-bedroom.
Right.
And we were all like sharing, you know, space or whatever. I couldn't, you know, I'm a big guy, so I couldn't like sleep how I wanted to, but it was really a culture.
Humbling
it was
too.
A culture shock. It was humbling. You know, even it's not like we were like boastful or anything like that, but it still like brings you to a place that's centered. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember feeling like as I was driving to work every day, and we were further away from like where we worked. So it was like a whole thing to take the kids to school, to go to work, to come all the way back. And I remember thinking, like, when I would sit at work and just be doing stuff and just dealing with the nuances. What is the word?
Nuances.
Dealing with that. I just remember thinking, these people don't even know that I'm homeless at this point.
Yeah.
Right. I remember feeling that.
Yeah. And that's why, just a side note, that's why you never know what people are going through. You always like should treat people with respect. You always should be kind to people, unless, you know, they do something disrespectful to you or something like that. But be kind to people, because you never know what they're going through. You know what I mean?
So I'll go back to like how you were feeling. How are you feeling? Because I think what plays a role in the arguments or the things that people have, especially concerning finances, is how it makes you feel, right?
Yeah.
And so how were you feeling when we were homeless? Time number one.
Right. Well, you know, what's crazy is because you have, you know, you go through these situations, and I, you know, feel like there's got to be a solution. We have to find, you know, we have to find a resolution out of this. Like, we got to find a way to overcome it, and, you know, so that we can get into a better place. But I think what the trap that some people get into is they take those situations and they let it attack who they are at their core. Like, I'm not good enough, or, you know, these self-proclaiming statements like, I'm not capable, I'm a bad person, I failed, you know, all of those things. And that could like find itself now protruding out to other people, and now you're spilling over on the other people. You know what I mean? So
I agree.
I think it's first you have to think about, you know, who you are as a person, and not allow the situation to put a label on you.
And I think what we were good at doing in those situations where we made it us, like team us against them.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, this landlord not gonna be
right.
We'll stay in the hotel.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that those situations kind of drew us closer together, because it starts to show you who your people are.
Yeah.
Right. Because there wasn't anyone else that we could stay with. Well, actually, let me rewind, because we stayed with my mother 1 week.
Yeah.
But then it was just
shout out to moms
out the way. Yeah, she was just like 2 out the way, and then the next week and a half or whatever, we stayed in the hotel. So I think it shows you the dependency that we have on each other.
Yeah, and I was gonna say to that too, because what I appreciated about you was that you really like you matched my energy, and you made it about us. You made it like a team, as opposed to saying like, you didn't do this, you need to do something, you failed us, or, you know, you need to get a job. You know what I mean?
Oh,
yeah.
I think I do. I mean, like when you bring that up, I think that I do feel like that's like a characteristic. Like, if we're working towards something, if we have a problem in front of us that because you're not like to solve problems, you know, that we have to solve, and I'm kind of like, team, let's get it done.
Right. And that's what it's got to be. It has to be a team. Like, we are both in this together. When you put that much responsibility on one person, you know, when you have a life event like that happen, it's a lot for that person to go through. You know what I mean? Even if that person is like figuring things out, but you're there as support, like, we are in this together, that means like so much to a person.
Yeah. So the last time that we dealt with financial issues that I want to share, I think we should talk about, is when we sold our last house. So we sold our last house. It was on the market for a long time. And we were trying to sell it. It was just becoming too much of a financial strain, and it was just too big. The kids were gone. And so we were like, okay, let's jump ahead of this. Let's sell this house, thinking that the house was going to sell quickly. Yeah. And it actually took 6 months to sell.
Yeah. It was a long process.
Yeah. It put us in a lot of debt, credit card debt. It just put us in a really bad financial situation. And that was very stressful, because it was almost, we got to the point where it was lose the house
Yep.
or sell the house. Like, one of these things need to happen now, because in about 4 days, we about to lose this house. Right. And so I just remember that was a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And we weren't, I think at that time, we weren't like as connected and on the same page with other things.
Yeah.
And so I think out of all of our marriage concerning like finances, I think that may have been the most stressful time.
Right.
For me. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And I think what happens is when you get into those situations, when something like traumatic happens, or if there's like a life event, like say, for instance, the pandemic, you know, it normally exposes things about yourself or others that have already been laying dormant or have been there. And it kind of just brings it out into the forefront. So I say that to say that
I was about to say, what did it expose?
I'm just saying, because you were saying that, you know, with this situation, we were like stressed out. We weren't on the same page, and us going through the house situation just kind of maximized how we were feeling in the place that we were in at that time. So,
and we had to do a whole video about that house, getting the house ready.
That's a whole message
listen, that was
in
a
itself.
Whole thing. So it was
journey.
A highly stressful time, and I had just started my entrepreneur journey, so I wasn't making I wasn't making no money.
Right. Yeah.
Solely dependent on your income, and it was a mess. And so, and then after that, after selling our house, not too long after that, the pandemic came, and we didn't have the opportunity to find another place. We actually ended up moving out of state, but we didn't have and we had to crowd everybody in. The kids came home from college, staying with my mom. It was just. And
we couldn't go outside because of COVID. So we were all like stuck in the same place.
Right.
So,
yeah. But then it wasn't, we had the money then. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
But like, so finances can definitely kill a marriage.
Yeah.
You know, if you guys don't know how to handle it. So what suggestions would you give for someone who's like, you know,
going through like financial issues, things like
not
that?
Being on the same page.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be on the same page. I think a few things. You have to be on the same page. You have to communicate. You got to talk about how you're feeling, because a lot of times when we don't talk about it, it doesn't mean that we're not communicating it in other ways. It could be our behavior, our reactions, our anger. It still gets communicated somehow.
So guys, if you found this video of value to you, please share, like, and subscribe. We'd love to stay connected with you. So until next time,
stay connected.